Hey everyone, I'm just kind of getting some light adjusted and stuff, and then we'll get started. Make sure I have some light on my canvas that you all can see. I think that's looking pretty good for now. Hi all! So hopefully that didn't look too out of focus. So last time I went live, I did a drawing of some waves hitting some rocks, and then I did some smaller real quick sketches, kind of challenging what I did, my thinking on what I did above it, and then I kind of like re-sketched some things in my mind as well. So today we're going to be actually transferring that to the canvas, and you can do that. So I typically start with, my gloves aren't cooperating, sorry. I typically start with a value sketch. Sometimes that's done with ivory black paint from Michael Harding, or I use Michael Harding's burnt sienna. There it is. Gotta find it, so put it over here so you can see the burnt sienna of Michael Harding. I want a really warm picture. I don't want to gray it down too much with the black and white value study. But I can still get a range of values before I go to color, even using the burnt sienna. Some people like to take their white canvases and tone it with burnt sienna or an orange, or something that so that it's not white. A lot of folks get a little freaked out, if you want to say it, or find it as a block maybe to have that white canvas staring at you. I don't particularly feel that way. It's kind of, when you write, it's a white paper looking at you. If you're painting, it's it's a white canvas, so you get used to it after a while. So what I'm going to do is kind of figure out, I'm going to go over a little bit of what we were talking about with when I was drawing, and talk a little bit about this. I'll get in front of the camera here in a second. So two things I want to mention before I get started. I'm kind of waiting for folks to kind of drop in. So it's a few folks that I know that might be wanting to join us. So these little live sessions from the LRF studio, Linda's studio, are meant for you to kind of look over my shoulder. With that in mind, I will be talking during the demonstration unless I'm really concentrating, in which case I won't be talking. But it is really just for you to look over my shoulders. Typically these run an hour, hour and a half, depending on what I'm doing, sometimes 2 hours. This one won't be any longer than 2 hours. But I just, thought that it would be kind of fun, and I wouldn't feel quite alone in my studio if I did this live. So, and I have a really nice studio now to do it from, so I thought, well, why not? We'll see what happens. So thank you all for tuning in and looking over my shoulder and keeping me company when we paint, or when I paint. I appreciate that. The second thing I want to mention is we are part of this Arctic blast that is coming down, but the difference is we have 22-mile-an-hour winds with 40-mile-an-hour gusts today. So at some point I might lose electricity, in which case that'll be the end of the video. So the internet and everything is all set up, and as you can see, the iPad's going, and we're getting ready to go. And I just saw some of Tom's photography lights, which I have behind me, kind of flicker a little bit. So we'll see if this indeed ends up being a full session. Okay, so hi again. So basically what I want to talk about first is, at this stage, this is really what I call designing your painting. You can change things from this point on, but you really want to get a good foundation, and you want to think about values, line, the composition, all kind of really neat stuff like that. Like I said, you can always change it as you go along. I'm not worried that much about making mistakes. I'm only going to be using one color, the Michael Harding Burnt Sienna. Basically, I have a grid drawn on here that I did the same grid on the drawing. Since the drawing, I have been playing with more of a half circle or a circle composition. You can also do the, like the amble where it's very heavy here, in this area, so it's, I forget what they call it. I always call it amble, but I don't think it is. But, the weighted painting, where everything is on this side. Things that you want to think about is how you're going to draw your eye in, your viewer's eye in as you start to think about this, because really what we're going to have in this painting is the ocean and some rocks. So in my study of master artists, past masters, I noticed a couple things, like Fetchin, for example, and Monet and a number of them always limited their values, but they always made color changes in the same value tone. So, when I started really studying them and looking at their work, and I mean, it holds true for a lot of people today as well, I started thinking, I should start limiting myself to values. And that's when I started saying the first thing I'm going to do is line and composition and value, and just focus on those things and get and design the painting. So with this, I'm going to be doing that with this brush, which is a Rosemary and Company brush. It is a filbert, ivory filbert, so kind of bristled, so it's a little hard. I have my paint already scooped out. I got plenty of Bounty towels because I'm going to be using a very loose, very liquidy color of that, except for when I start dark, and pull the drawing out. And you'll see me do that. I'm probably not the only one that does that. I really can't say who else uses the kind of technique that I kind of developed on my own. But and that came from the fact of I had to really break a drawing block. And thanks to Carolyn, I think we figured out what it was. Carolyn Anderson and I were talking about it a year or so ago, and she was right on the right track where I write a lot. So when I hold my pen, I'm holding it like this, and she noticed I was kind of holding my brush the same way. So, we stood back and kept the brush, my hand at the back of the brush, and I tended then to get more painterly strokes. So, and really kind of broke that block of not being able to draw with a pencil. And quite honestly, my technique is probably not right, but it works for me. So if you find a technique that works for you and you like it, stick with it. If it gets you the same type of results, great. And what I mean by same type of results is that if it gets you technically where you want to go, with a composition, with values, with line, more power to you. So get on Facebook or whatever and share your technique with us. That'd be great. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Hi to everybody who's joined in. The way that I have it set up is on one of my new easels. Yay! So I really can't see who's joining because you're behind the main post of the easel. So we're going to go ahead and get started. One of these times I have this really nice set from Jerry's Artorama that are a number of mediums, and I'm going to break that out and play with that at some point, but not today because I want to get started on this particular thing. Okay. So again, if you remember the drawing I had 3 rocks, and I decided that I was actually going to zoom in more on one that I had drawn. So I may only have like 1 rock in this particular area, and I want to make sure I have a little bit of a C, bit of a focus so that I can direct the eye. So now I'm just using a medium to kind of make this a loose paint. Too loose. So I'm just kind of going to put some real light lines down to begin with. Right back. So what I'm thinking about when I'm doing this is John Carlson's from the Guide to Landscaping, and you have him. He talks about the different planes: the sky, a slanting plane, a vertical plane, and the ground plane, and you know how that affects value. So I'm kind of doing that myself, but at this point I'm just trying to get something down so that I know where I want to go. I'll come back and fill in a little bit. So the straight lines that I'm putting on here are kind of will end up being kind of the core shadow of the rocks that are going to set it down into, on that plane. And you can tell, I haven't gone all that dark, so I can even at this point change something and just go into my turpentine and use my towel, and it lightens it up. I think our mailman made it up our street. It's pretty amazing. I guess the roads have been treated out there. Our first snowstorm in the mountains has been interesting. The Blue Ridge Parkway, where we were the other day, just 2 days ago, and it was 60 degrees, about 50 or so up in the mountain area. That is now closed, so you cannot get up there. So I'm going to use a wave to kind of pull our eye in. This will be a bit of a flat area. Another wave coming over here. So you can start to see how it's starting to take shape. So again, I'm designing this painting. This is what I call a design stage. I actually find this stage a lot more fun lately for some reason. Not exactly sure why. So you can kind of see how I'm, still kind of thinking in that C pattern. So I want to bring you in and kind of capture you right here. So these kind of lines that I'm kind of filling in here rather broadly will all be a certain value. Way off in the distance. Just a kind of little stop to make you stop and keep your eye from going off that way. Okay. Same over here, just a little bit of seafoam maybe. So this is really the drawing part. Just trying to place some objects, start thinking about values, which would be the next part of the drawing. And Harry's up here. Hey Harry. Hi. What you doing? Okay. Liking it so far. But there's a little flat rock here. Always, when I say that kind of stuff, I always think of Bob Ross. I sound like Bob Ross. So, yeah, there's a lot of backwash and suds. Hi, honey. You right down by my feet? What you doing? Huh? Yeah, I have to watch you because you end up getting under my feet and I end up tripping over you. Okay, so now I'm going to start working with some value. Not heavy. I'm laughing because Harry has now jumped up into where I store some of my canvases and stuff. He's trying to figure out why the easel is where it is. If you hear a loud crash, that means that Harry has jumped onto the easel. As I start to work on this a little bit, I may be thinking color, what color I'm going to paint something. At this point I'm just putting in my darkest color, so a lot like, you always want to remember that you're painting dark to light with oils. Whenever the cats are here, you always have to keep an eye on them. Remember to step back and look. This is the time that you want to make changes. My students would probably tell you that's not true, because I always ended up making changes even after I got done with this stage. But still, maybe there's some of a backwash of water there on the rock formation. Or water pools. One's back down. Oops, sorry. That was my finger. No panic. Gosh, got a lot of folks tuning in. Thanks, guys. Good to see ya. Sorry about trying to... There we go. And the angle on my iPad isn't all that good, but you guys get the picture. So yes, so Tom and I went up to Mount Mitchell. It was really pretty. Got a lot of pictures. You see, I'm holding my brush different than I hold my pencil. Okay, so this has really helped break that block, and so has this, actually, just drawing and with my brush. Feel a little more painterly. I feel it feels like it's looser. Now this is a little further back, this rock foundation, or rocks that I'm putting in here. So they aren't going to be my darkest dark. At this point it's just a mental note that it's a little further back. So, it may be darker in value when I start applying color. Maybe lighter. Depends on what I want to do. So like I said, at this point I'm still just designing this painting. It's not set in stone exactly what's going to happen where. But it's at least giving me a playground with what I can play in this playground that I've got going on. It helps when it's like, I guess it was like in the upper 30s when we got up today. And now I think it's in the upper teens. And like I said, it was a wind chill, I think it's in the teens here. So it's nice painting oil or painting a California Pacific Coast type painting, thinking ocean, pretty waves. Just kind of stumbling in some value here. Who's that behind me? Little girl. Hi, sweetie. So yeah, so now you can see my cats love my studio. Harry got bored with me. I think he left. Little girl's down here now. And she will, no doubt, go over to the steps and start scratching it because she knows she's not allowed to do that. So these new easels that I got came in these really long boxes, which are still up in here in my studio. I have bought this Carolina brand from Jerry's Artorama. Typically it's about a $350 easel. I got them for $132. Shipping was free because they had a special going on. So if you're looking for a good H-type easel, that is a really, really good one. I was really impressed once I got them here and opened them up. No real assembly required, just some little things to do. But a very nice easel. So you might want to check that out. I think they have a VIP special going on, and I'm sure that the VIP is if you have an email address with them. But if you want an easel, now's the time to do it. Now is the time to get it. Okay, so this back here is where you saw I just put kind of one value down and went this way with my strokes instead of this way with my strokes. This is the ocean behind it. And with color changes, I'll make that either feel like it's the flat plane of the ground, in quotation marks, ground, in quotation marks, but it's a flat area of the water, which will catch more light than a slanted or vertical part in the water. So I wanted to get that in while I went and played with this. And you know, this value here could be the same value as this. But with the color changes and temperature changes, it'll feel like it's a different plane. Okay. The cats may start playing here. Harry has decided that he's going to sit behind my computer by the window, and little girl is acting like she wants to play, so. Okay, so this, I like this. This I'm going to play with some more. I don't like it, it's going like this, so I need to bring one of them around more, and I don't want the very, very bottom one to be the one that comes out more. That directs our eye. For now, I just want to get some color in here. I'll start drawing with my brush in a little bit. Or I really start using a lighter value or a light value to subtract away, because all this is wet. And I pull some value out, I pull some, pulling back in some of the canvas white. You can see I kind of, right in this area, I have this wave that I want to bring over. And I may actually need to bring that up a little bit, connect it there. Bit higher. Turn a little. There we go. So if you're only going to use a couple values, right, you have a lot of areas that are pretty much the same medium value. When I say medium, I'm talking about the middle of the scale of a from light to dark to light, whichever way you want to talk about it. But it's you would really have, let's just say we're going to use 1 to 10 as the scale. You really would have a lot of the area being about a 5, and in that area of value of a 5, you're going to have to change temperature of your color or change the color completely. Maybe you go from a, Caribbean blue or something like that to a, more of a blue that's made with cobalt teal, for example. So, it's got to be in that same value of 5, but you may use color to distinguish, where this wave comes down into, the flat plane of the bottom, the well, or whatever the bottom part of the wave that you want to put in, without changing the value. So I'm using one color, and for me to map out stuff, I'm going to use a value change in this color, thinking about line, okay, line, and thinking also about shapes of color while I'm doing this, but also value. I may change the value to be a tad darker because I want to tell myself later, not that it's typically a value change, but that it's a shady area that I want to change the color temperature. So sometimes I may have more than 5 values when I'm starting out, is what I'm trying to say here. But I will have a mental note when I'm painting it that I want that to actually be the same value as all of the other slanted planes, slanted planes, not vertical up and down, but slanted planes that are in here, that are in this same painting. Could you, if you don't have all, if you're not using all 10 of your values, can you change a value? Sure. Sure you can. I just like to try to get by with as few values as I can. As a lot of the master artists will say, you have 9 or 10 values depending on what scale you want to use. But you have millions of color choices. So I've been binge watching Mad Men while I'm cooking dinner and stuff. I know how it ends, which is kind of funny, but how the season ends up being. But it's just, I don't know. This is a crazy series. I guess it was one of the first series that they ever put on TV. I assume. I don't know. When Kevin and I were working together, he and Wanda would tape it and then catch up on it. So, but I didn't get it from the beginning. So it was. I wanted to watch it from the beginning. I actually think they were better at the beginning of this than they are here towards the end. I think I'm on season 6 now. So. And for my friends who also know who George Gallo is, just a quick update. Keep an eye on the media that's out there. It was announced yesterday, I think, or the day before, that his latest movie, The Comeback Trail, which he wrote with Josh Parsner, and he was the lead writer, screenwriter, and he directed it, and Robert De Niro stars in it, Morgan Freeman stars in it, Tommy Lee Jones stars in it, and Emile Hirsch, and there's one other person I can't remember, but it's in that thing. Storyboard picked it up, so hopefully we'll be able to see this one in theaters. It has not been locked yet. They are still working on the film. So keep that in mind. When it's locked, I'll let you know if I know before that time. If not. But if you go out and Google Comeback Trail, you'll see the Storyboard article. Storyboard is a distributing house in LA and around the world, actually. Okay. So I'm just basically gonna fill in the canvas so that I can start doing some design work. I kind of like where the rocks are placed. So then I start asking myself, you know, how do I want my eye to travel around this painting? And that requires a lot of stepping back and looking at it. So, yeah, this basically is one session. So it's wet, it's going to dry quickly. There's not a whole lot of thick paint on this. So any changes that you want to make to your design stage or your drawing stage, this is the time to do it. Because when you come up like tomorrow into your studio, or even later tonight, this will be all pretty much dry, except for where there are some thicker areas of paint. So this wave, you know, it's going to have some foam on it. So I kind of want to leave an area of lighter value here. I'll come back and play with that some more. this a second. See how everybody who's here. Hi Cinda, hi Debbie, hi Alvin, hey Dick, hey Nate, hey Lynn. I don't have my glasses on. Hold on. Oh, two Lyns. Hey Lynn. Hi from Michigan. Boy, you guys really got hit. So, oh, my cousin Don. Hey Don. And Jackie. Hi Jackie. So, yeah. Great. You guys are great for hanging in there and watching this. Thank you so much. I just put some more burnt sienna down on my palette because I'm going to, that is way too juicy. I'm going to fill this area in, and then I'll start designing the waves and always remember with oil paintings you can go lighter to darker. I'm sorry, darker to lighter. Duh. Dyslexic mind today. Let me get on this side. Again, at this point I'm just putting a pretty median value in, just a, around a 5, maybe a 4. On the scale, and I'll come back and design some things. Into it. Then you could get a bigger brush and it would go even faster. I kind of have fun just playing with the big long strokes here. See, I just kind of pulled a little wave out over here. We have a lot of juicy like foam and stuff down in this area. Just so the eye has something to look at. The same with up here. So I'll have to design all of that in as well. A drink of water. I'll be right back. Have a look at what we've got here. Alright, I'm going to throw this towel away. In case you're wondering, this is my towel that I've been cleaning my brush with. New towel, yay! This is Bounty. I just ordered my Viva. I like it better. I guess one of the reasons why I do like it better is it's more cloth-like. So if you've ever had a Viva towel in your hand, you know it is more cloth-like. So I'm throwing just a little bit darker value back here, and you'll see why in a minute. Okay. This is not a rock down here, this is water. Just kind of a darker area of water. Maybe some backwash, if you think about it, some backwash from some rocks that may be sitting over here off to the side of the painting. Oh, shoot. Not good. This is one of those emergencies when you need a lot of paper towels. I just knocked over my turpentine. The whole house is going to smell like turp. Not good. Yeah, it's the tablecloth caught it. So, my paint cloth. Nah, it's set up pretty good, I think. Moral of that story: do not put my turpentine too close to the edge of the table. So. Just leave my air freshener, my air cleaner, leave that on. Go over this way a little bit. Actually, I'm going to leave that sit there. I'm just going to move this over some so you can see the edge of the painting. Good. Yeah, it looks good on there. I see the end of the painting there. Let's see. Be right back. Maybe get some more turp. Pour it in my canister. My cats will be up here huffing all night. Okay. Now, back in the concentration here. So the waves you can think about as a slanted plane. So now I'm just kind of playing with the edge a little. It's one of those things where I got carpet up here, and we talked about laying some plastic down just in case we have some accidents like this, but I have cats who like to eat plastic, so not really sure that's the answer. Do have a gorilla pad down on an exercise mat that took some of that away, and then I have a drop cloth on the table that has my paints and everything on it. So should be okay. The good news is this is probably 19, 20-year-old carpet, so if it gets too dirty at some point we'll have to change it, but right now it's fine. So now this is just, a little more design, just playing with the edge a little bit where I would like some foam. See foam to be kind of splashing around, defining the wave just a little bit more. this is going. Still just designing, thinking where I want some foam to be placed in the water and how I'm directing the eye. So think of this, I'm thinking of this area as kind of some backwash area from back from the rocks that are, you know, continuing down this way. Always think, you know, beyond your painting. You know, my Pacific coast doesn't just end here, you know, it continues to go on, so. I'm just putting in just enough detail that I can play with it with color and value and temperature. My little girl, what you doing? Go on. Coming down some brush strokes so that it's a bigger shape of it, a bigger shape to work with. Starting to look good. Hi, girly. This is just scumbling, just, you know, moving some paint around very loosely with the brush. Just defining some rock planes, some faces of the rock that are catching light, as well as some waves that are crashing into it. This will basically become a dance when I start working with colors. Okay, little girl. What you doing? Huh? What time is it? Basically, I just keep playing with shapes as I keep carving some things out. Thinking about where my light is, thinking about where I want splashes from the rocks, where I just want to define some rocks. Maybe there's some water that's running down, some of the ocean that's running down back over the rocks. Hey, Harry. Just kind of thinking of different planes. There's a little bit of a smaller rock cluster here. It's getting backwash from the rocks over here. As well as some guys, stop! Need doors on studio. My cats have decided that they wanted to run around. It's live. What can I say? Alright, so you get the idea. And I may bring some of the rocks out here. Connect it up a little bit more. Here, so that this isn't just all vast by itself. bits of white foam here and there, just to give the eye something to gently move in to the painting without being too in your face. Okay, so thanks for hanging around with all the disasters of the cats and stuff. We didn't lose any electricity, which was good. And this is a good start for the design. You all have hung in there for a really long time, and end up losing track of time while I'm doing this. So we started around about 10 till 2. It's now 3:42. So it's got, it's got some good potential. I can play around with it some more if I wanted to. I'm basically going to stop at this point. And look at it over the next couple days. Decide what I like and what I don't like about it. Naturally, when I start painting, it won't seem as hard-edged in some areas where it does. I mean, those are just like reminders to me of some colors that I want to put in there and things like that. So basically, that's it for today. This is how I start paintings. I start with a drawing, and then I go to drawing it on the canvas and designing it on the canvas, and it ends up looking the way it does. So thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it, y'all, and I will save this out and put it out on my YouTube and Patreon page as well. And trying to think what else, if there's anything else I can tell you about this. So beginning of the painting. Hope you enjoyed it. Talk to y'all later. Thanks for watching. Y'all are troopers. Thanks. Bye.